How's it going, guys? It's Moist Bean here, bringing you a Rune Dragons guide. Now, before we jump into any sort of video footage, I just want to go over a few requirements with you, which are going to be necessary if you want to take on these new Slayer creatures. Now, the first one being Ritual and Majorat. The reason you need this quest is for the Dragonbane Arrow. You're not going to be able to take on this dragon without it, unfortunately. It is necessary to pierce the dragon's shell. The second quest in the line you're going to need is Fate of the Gods. Now, you need Fate of the Gods so you can teleport to Kethsea itself, where these dragons are located. You're going to need to use the World Gate, which is why Fate of the Gods is actually required. The third one and the final quest, as far as I'm aware in the line, you're going to need Plague's End, because you're going to need access to Prithvenus, the Elephant City. Now, the reason you need this is to get a task from Moondragon, and to do this you're going to need 90 Slayer, so that's the main stat requirement I would recommend for taking on these dragons. Now, as I said, we have the Rune Dragon in front of us now, and rather than go in there and show you some chaotic kind of gameplay, I'm going to go through a few basics right now. It has 3 phases. Now, the first phase of this dragon, it will stay on the floor like this. It's fairly simple to take down. You just do a load of damage and you break through its shell. It has a number of attacks. The first attack is a melee attack, so you're going to want to stay out of melee distance since you're going to be using range to take on this beast. It can do some serious damage. The highest I've seen it hit is 3.3k. It could possibly hit higher. This is a fairly new creature, so just be careful, stay out of melee distance and you can avoid that attack altogether. The second one is a ranged attack. Now, this can hit quite high as well, into the couple of thousands. I would recommend using Soul Split, but we'll get into the gear and the setup a little bit later on. Now, it has a second phase, and this second phase is a flying phase. As you can see, it has 2 attacks in this phase. It can fire ranged attacks at you, and it can fire a Dragon Fire Breath, which kind of emits a blue flame. The further away from the target you stood, the more chance you have of avoiding this, but it doesn't tend to hit very high. The highest I've seen it hit whilst using anti-fire breath is around about 1.1k, so you don't really have to worry too much about that one. As I said, it is avoidable if you get out of the way in time. Now, the last phase, this is the one you've got to worry about. It will go back, and it will go back to its walking form. And in this phase, the longer you keep this dragon alive, the more damage it's going to do. So for each hit it does, it ranks up its attack ability. Now, this is a major problem, as you can imagine. So you're going to want to save your thresholds and possibly your death swiftness. I would recommend death swiftness in just at the end of the flying phase. As he lands on the floor, you're going to want to drop a death swiftness, preferably with a ring of vigor and possibly a replenishment potion / adrenaline potion. And you're going to want to use as much DPS as you possibly can, obviously still using your Dragonbane ammo. And that pretty much covers the basics of the dragon itself. Like I say, it's 127 level wise. It is a Slayer creature, and it gives some pretty mediocre XP, which is about to be buffed on the Monday to kind of bump it up and match up to whereabouts Glazor's XP is. So that'll make this very enticing. I've done a few hours of killing these myself, and I haven't managed to get one of the rare drops. Now, these different drops are the Ragefire Gland, the Steadfast Scale, and the Glaven Wingtip, each making 3 pairs of tier 90 power boots. Now, these tier 90 power boots are the best in slot in the game for power armor, and basically they're very expensive at the moment. I'm going to wait a few weeks before I can actually maybe give you a guide on those. It's not really worth paying the price that it is at the moment. Now, we will jump into the game and continue this from there. I'm going to show you the type of loadout I recommend you bring in, and that's about it really. Just before we do push onto the live clips, I did forget about this, and I don't know how I could, to be fair. This is the Elite Rune Dragon. Now, this has a chance of spawning after you kill a normal Rune Dragon, and it's a little bit more powerful. Scratch that, it's a lot more powerful. It will hit a lot harder than a normal Rune Dragon. It's also going to have almost double its HP. Now, there's nothing to be afraid of though, apart from the fact that it does hit harder. It's got exactly the same phases, so it'll start off in a phase on the ground, and this one is not aggressive like the other Rune Dragons. This will wait until you're ready to attack it. And then after the first phase, it will jump into its flying phase, as per usual. And now this is the phase you want to worry about. the phase when it's on the ground. Remember how I said the longer it stays on the ground in its third phase, the more powerful its attacks? Well, this has got more HP. So you're going to want to take this down very, very quickly. So use the same method as I told you before, using the Death Swiftness, possibly with a Ring of Vigor and a replenishment potion / adrenaline potion, and just unleash all your thresholds onto it. You're going to want to take this thing down as fast as is humanly possible. Now that I've added this on, I think it's about time we actually got in and shown a clip of these live. Okay guys, I'm going to very quickly go through exactly what I'm wearing. I won't spend too much time on this because you can switch it out for pretty much what you want. But as a basic, just to go off, I am wearing the Slayer helm. You're going to want to kill these on task. They do not drop the boot attachments off task, so it's going to be pretty much not worth doing. I've gone with a Blood Amulet of Fury. You could swap this for a Farsight necklace, or maybe even an Amulet of Souls. The Dragonbane Arrow are pretty much irreplaceable. You're going to need these to kill the rune dragons. You can maybe swap them out for the Dragonbane bolts if you're using obviously the Ascension crossbow counterpart. Switching down to the weapon I'm using a Noxious longbow. I just prefer the bow. You could use Ascension crossbows, there's really not that much difference in them. Using Ascension grips for the gloves, you could swap these out for maybe Armadillo. Same goes to the rest of the gear. You could go in full Armadillo, but I'm kind of cranking this up to tier 90. The Asylum Surgeon's Ring, the chance to save adrenaline on thresholds is going to be pretty useful against these, since you're going to want to use thresholds on the last phase. Using a Sharpshooter Aura just for that extra accuracy, and I'm using a Scrimshaw of Ranging just for that extra little bit of damage. It's going to help massively against the elite dragons. A pair of Pernix boots, tier 80 power gear, a pair of Serenic chaps, a Serenic hauberk, a max cape, and that pretty much covers the gear. For inventory setup, we have gone with Supreme Overloads, a Super Prayer Renewal, and a Super Anti-Fire. Super Anti-Fire is pretty much non-negotiable. You're going to want to bring that. It's pretty much impossible to kill without it. You're going to want, unless you bring a DFS, your kills are going to be incredibly slow and you're going to take a lot of damage. So I recommend highly using a Super Anti-Fire flask. Super Restore potions, I've gone for 5 for a half-hour trip. In the gear that I'm wearing, this usually pretty much covers what I need prayer-wise. I've gone for 4 Saradomin brews, 4 Rocktails in the inventory, and a yak full of Rocktails. This is just to be safe, just in case we do have a bad fight against an elite dragon. Maybe get 2 dragons on us at once, since the normal rune dragons are aggressive. We've gone for replenishment potions. As I said, these are going to be pretty useful when fighting the elite rune dragons, possibly the normal rune dragons as well, with the Ring of Vigor switch for when we do use an ultimate. The Ring of Vigor will save us a 10% amount of adrenaline when we use it. I've gone for the Enhanced Excalibur for the extra heals, pretty useful if you have completed the Elite Seers Village task. The 6th Age Circuit, and that is just to teleport to the World Gate, which I'll go through now in just a second. Now, the Charming Imp just to pick up imps, a few little things, not really necessary, just help you along the way. Spring Cleaner, obviously, like I say, Charming Imp. The Winter Storage Scroll is mainly for like the rune drops and the dragon drops that the Spring Cleaner doesn't quite clean up. Now, to get there, you're going to be at the World Gate. There are 2 ways to get it. You can use the Lodestone from Eagle's Peak, which is just here, or you can use the 6th Age Circuit, as I said. Now, the first time you want to come to this, or you are going to come up to this gate, you're going to want to quick dial. So you don't want to go to Freneske, that's the normal place. You're going to want to go to Ketsi. Now you choose that, it's going to redial the portal, and all you got to do is click on it. It'll give you this message, click yes, jump through. You're perfectly safe when you first jump through, don't worry. And then it's going to bring you down into Ketsi, and this is where the rune dragons are located. As you can see, we are not on Slayer task at the moment, so this is going to be a slightly slower kill, but we are going to show you a kill just to demonstrate exactly what you're up against these beasts. Now, as I said, they are aggressive, and sometimes you can get more than one at you at once. This is nothing to panic about though, just activate your prayers. Soul Split is ideal if you do have it, and Anguish obviously to give you that extra little bit of DPS. Now this is the first phase. The first phase is basically just breaking off the dragon's armor, as you will see in just a second. There you go, its armor is now gone, making it a little bit easier to hit. At this point it does take off into its flying phase, as I told you. It will hit you with its Dragon Breath, but that's nothing to worry about. As long as you're wearing the type of gear that I'm wearing, even down to tier 80, you can do some serious damage against these things with Dragonbane Arrows. Just use up a few thresholds if you have the kind of DPS you want. or that I've got, it will drop into its third phase, and this is the one that you want to kind of stick around for. You're going to want to use Death Swiftness, try and get this phase over as fast as possible, switch back to your other ring, a adrenaline potion or replenishment potion, and kill it as fast as is possible. Now, the Rune Dragon Bones at the moment are quite expensive. I would not recommend burying them. Maybe pick up the rune drops as well. They do all add up. Now, as you can see, I am getting heals from my necklace. This is pretty useful. This is why I've opted for this over the Amulet of Souls. It does work against these because they are a Slayer creature. Now, as you can see, these are fairly easy to take down. If we can get an elite dragon to spawn in the next few seconds after this, I'll show you that one, but we'll see if we can't pull up a clip of that just a little bit later on. Okay guys, so I did manage to get an elite rune dragon to spawn, and I can show you this right now. Right over there with the arrow above its head is the elite rune dragon itself. Now in just a second we're going to leave this on a little bit of HP, just so we can keep this thing alive long enough so we don't get aggroed on something else. Going to want to get our prayer up, just for the fact that this thing does hit quite hard. You're going to want to re-overload and re-anti-fire if you are under 2 minutes. It's going to take a while to kill this thing. As I said, these things have 68,000 HP. The elite rune dragon has 105,000. Now, keep an eye closely on exactly what I do here. This thing can hit quite hard, and while I may not be an expert at killing these things, I do tend to take these down quite easily. Activating your enhanced Excalibur, if you do have it, is ideal at this point in time and recommended. Now try and keep your HP up, because once it hits its flying phase, it does hit a little bit harder and becomes a bit of a pain, really. You don't want to drop any rapid fires or anything like that at this point in time. Try and keep all your adrenaline if you can, and just DPS it down until it hits about 30,000 HP. At that point you are going to want to drop your Death Swiftness, as you'll see in just a second. Try and keep your HP up. These things can combo you out, as I'll show you. Now, as we whittle its HP down, these things can drop the Ketsi outfit and the Ketsi ring, which are kind of highly wanted among players right now. The Ketsi outfit, I believe, is purely cosmetic, but the ring itself does give you an 8% damage buff in Corodel's dungeon. As you can see, I do have a couple of these things on me now, and I can easily be comboed out. So it's dropped down to its small form. Its first phase, and I'm going to want to drop a Death Swiftness, Adrenaline Potion and Ring of Vigor switch. That gives me the perfect chance to do as much DPS in this last phase as possible, so I don't take a massive amount of damage. And see what the drop is. The drops tend not to vary between the dragons too much, but yeah, that's pretty much it guys. That's where I'm going to leave this video. Thank you incredibly for spending the time watching this and basically catching my first guide for a very long time. It's been a pleasure streaming for you, and hopefully I shall catch you again very, very soon. Take care.